Why should you visit the Chairshot.com? The Chairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. The Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
Pretty short. I was expecting some more jams. I was getting into it, but that's okay. We got a show to do. I'm Miranda Morales.
I got things I can. We got things we can do for you.
Some of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet are on that plane.
I'm so glad I at least said my name before I got through any other part of the intro, so people know.
Bitches! Yeah!
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So, yes, I'm Miranda Morales.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
That's just for anyone who's listened in the past and knows what
this is my life. This is the hashtag Miranda show. This is my podcast. This is supposed to be my podcast. My good friend and co-host Greg DeMarco gave me full range on this show. He, over a year ago said, "Hey, do you want to have your own podcast?" And I said, "Yeah, I would love to have my own podcast." Little did I know that I would actually not have my own podcast. I would have this guy here pushing all the buttons, both figuratively and literally, and pretty much, controlling what I'm doing. So, for any of you who's new to this, welcome to this madness. This is both in audio and video version, so thank you for listening and watching. And of course, I am the ring announcer to the stars, the Twitterless heroine herself, the queen of soft style, and a new nickname that I got. A big thank you to Mr. Andrew Velaz, the most professional podcaster, Miranda Morales.
Sometimes nicknames stick and sometimes they don't. Just to say that. That's all I'm going to say.
Are you mad that this is a nickname you did not come up with?
No, I can't come up with
a little bit.
I mean,
no. That's true. You did not come up with Fancy Pants or Pretty Bird.
No, but I really like the person who did, so I can't really be upset about that. And, I mean, I am responsible for the nicknames that became your Instagram handle, your T-shirt, yeah.
So humble is this.
You're welcome.
I mean, I would play the You're So Vain soundbite, but we've been down that road.
No, yeah, we can't do that anymore. We can't do that anymore.
Do that anymore, which kind of pisses me off.
Kind of a bummer, but that's okay.
I mean, I got other things,
Oh, thank God for that.
Please continue.
Yeah, but it's my show. Please, thank you. White guy telling me what to do.
Hey, who has complained more about white dudes on this network besides
But you get to do it because you're a white dude.
I get to do it because I'm in control of the technology. It has nothing to do with the color of my skin.
You're also wearing a white shirt.
Yes, thanks.
Max stacking up. Anyways. But
you just told me the white shirt was fine off air and off camera.
It was fine. Yeah, no, it was.
Until I started pressing buttons, and then it wasn't fine anymore.
Now he's really self-conscious, everyone. Now he's gonna go leave and change because he's
right. I'm gonna go off video and go change. Not really.
He's gonna Bye. So I mentioned I am the Twitterless heroine. I myself am not on Twitter. But you know what? You can follow me on Twitter when sometimes I take over the Chairshot's Twitter account at Chairshot Media. You can also follow them on Instagram and Facebook and, of course, Twitter at Chairshot Media. And I had mentioned, I kind of bypassed this earlier because we were just so enthralled in our conversation that the hashtag Miranda Show is a proud part of the Chairshot Radio Network, which is part of the Chairshot.com.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
And of course, Chairshot.com is your source for wrestling news, opinions, and analysis. And of course, the Chairshot Radio Network is your place to find wrestling-related podcasts, but also podcasts in sports and other avenues like MMA, of course, pop culture, all those types of things. It has really expanded. So go and check out the Chairshot Radio Network on your favorite podcast streaming platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, where Podbay? I'm not.
I think so, yeah.
Podbay, Speaker, all of those great resources. And of course, the Chairshot.com.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
Can I play producer for a minute and just do this on air? Remember, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, where like I had to stop you and tell you to scoot back because at the point like your eyes were even like out of the shot. You should probably scoot closer.
Scoot closer, okay.
Yes.
Let's
There's a lot of.
I love how you're doing this while we're on air.
It's just as I'm going through and noticing. Because it's a different camera. And see, I think that's better.
Okay, there you go.
Now there's a little less sheet and a little more you. So.
Are you making fun of my sheets? These are nice. My mom got me these right here.
My mom got me these.
Yeah, I'm a grown-ass woman, and my mom got me these. And
I used them as a background.
She also does not know it.
On the planet or on that plane.
Mm-hmm. My mom got me.
She did. Be like, I bought you those sheets.
No, she will probably not. This would be way too weird, and she doesn't like that I like wrestling, which is a whole other conversation we'll have at another time.
We've had it, but yeah.
But I did tell her a little bit about Lucha Libre, and she was like, okay. So it wasn't as, a surprise to her.
Okay.
But that's another conversation for another day. There's also lots of things I don't tell my mom about. So it's just one of them. That's fine. Nobody please tell my mom that I'm podcasting so late.
If anybody knows Mrs. Morales.
Yes, please don't tell her. Cool.
Which would be really weird if they did. But anyway, that's a whole different topic.
Yeah, that would be weird. Don't try to find my mom either.
Oh my God, no. If you do that, I will somehow ban you from listening to these shows and watching these shows and doing anything with these shows. And
yes.
Don't. Whatever you do.
Don't search for my mom or anyone's mom.
Dave.
Wish I had the part of the Dave soundbite where he's like, don't. That's what I would use. I'm gonna have to get that one.
Okay.
If you do that, I'll yell at you somehow. Fuck you! And Miranda would a lot worse than me.
Yeah. So going back to our intro, we talked about following the Chairshot at Chairshot Media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find Greg on those 3 platforms as well at Chairshot Greg.
Yes, you can. Chairshot Greg. Did you give yours?
No, not yet. I was just no. We'll save the best for last.
I know you're being unselfish and giving mine first. Yes, at Chairshot Greg, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. No tout, no
MySpace.
No MySpace. No, none of those. Just the 3 that I mentioned.
Yes, no AOL Instant Messenger.
I mean, I had that. I just don't have it anymore.
I know. I used to love AOL Instant Messenger. I was on there. I was obsessed. With AOL Instant Messenger.
I could see that.
Yeah, I was very chatty with my friends, and I tried to find like cute away messages to put there. And as you could,
I think I used to have like away messages that were like, "I'm not here."
That would be you. Super serious. Greg's not here.
I'm not super serious. Really, super serious.
Super serious.
Yeah. I have to be. It's my job.
It's his job. Good for you. Someone has to be serious. I can be here looking like a dope. But that's okay.
Did you just say looking like a dope?
Looking like a dope. Looking like a fine ass dope ass bitch. That's what I really meant to say. If you would have allowed me.
Man.
But
I hate that I can't play certain sound bites right now. Like it kills me. But the show will get taken down off YouTube again, and I don't want that.
No, we don't want to get
setting it up so perfectly, and
that's what I do.
Oh man,
that's what I do. You can find me Miranda Morales at the hashtag Miranda on Facebook and Instagram. I am not on Twitter, remember? So go to at Chairshot Media to follow me. I sometimes take over the Chairshot's Twitter. I may be taking over the Chairshot's Twitter in a few weeks for a takeover, possibly. Who knows?
It is a takeover.
Yeah, I usually take over the Twitter on takeovers.
You did it once, so I don't know if it usually is the right phrase, but
well, now people know that, Greg. I did take over for Slammiversary, even though as well. So it is very nice to take over Twitter and then have no responsibility or liability over what I tweet or post. So that's kind of nice. Yes, I can just swing back and not worry about it.
I mean, I'd say we're very jealous, but like I've proven that you can just log the fuck off and stay off as long as you want to.
That is also true. Yes, and I may, bring followers. I may have people who retweet or whatnot, but they don't really retweet me. They retweet at Chairshot Media, so I can't take those home with me. I can't take those people with me. They're not.
You should next time make sure you promote the Instagram though. Like
yes, that's also.
Although, granted, if you forget,
this whole Twitter thing is so new to me. I barely learned how to at people. You did, and I included a GIF for one of my tweets as well. So
you're learning.
Baby
coming along.
I'm
coming
learning.
along strong.
Coming along strong.
You got a lot of heart, kid.
Yes. Another thing that you can do to support thechairshot.com is to go to prowrestlingtees.com/thechairshot and get your very own Chairshot t-shirt. There you can find over 25 different styles there, different logos, different colors, just a big variety for you to choose from. T-shirts start at $19.99. But hey, if you want to treat yourself, you can add a few extra dollars and get your shirt in soft style, including the Queen of Soft Style shirt, my shirt, which is available in soft style because I'm not going to do you dirty like that. I'm going to make sure that you all get the best because you all deserve the best. So go to prowrestlingtees.com/thechairshot and pick up your t-shirt today. That is prowrestlingtees.com/thechairshot.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
Now, this week's topic is actually wrestling related, like real wrestling related. Last week, we did a review of Money Plane. That was almost just as a mess as the movie itself. I would rate our review to be slightly more entertaining than the movie itself.
Money Plane.
I would too. I would definitely give our review a higher rating. But again, a theme we established on the Greg DeMarco show, bar is not set high by the movie Money Plane. No. And do that. Should we, I don't know if you have it playing in somewhere, should we commercial before or after this?
Yeah, so I was going to intro the topic and then I was going to do a commercial. Thank you for ruining the surprise.
I like that. I like the way you're thinking.
Wow, but then you just called me out. I'm supposed to be a professional podcaster, according to Andrew Balaz, and now I feel like I failed him.
Maybe you did. I don't know.
But this week's topic, yes, is wrestling related. We're actually going to be focusing pretty much on AEW and their women's division. There's two big stories that come out over the past week with AEW. We're going to be talking about the launch of AEW Heels, and we're also going to be discussing the recent developments on the AEW Deadly Draw Tag Tournament. But before we get to that, well, we got some bills to pay.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey folks, PC Tony here. Thanks to our new partnership with Angry Lemonade, you can save 10% on physical products and digital commissions using the promo code Chairshot. Head to angrylemonade.net to check out their amazing catalog of products and services. Use the promo code Chairshot to save 10%. That's angrylemonade.net.
Are you looking for the newest and hottest in the world of pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 6,000 hours of the best events from over 150 of your favorite promotions from 20 different countries around the globe. Brands like Progress Wrestling, Evolve Wrestling, Combat Zone, Defy, PCW Ultra, PWX, Over the Top, Shine, and hundreds of others with fresh content added every day for only $5.99 per month. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.
That's over 150 of your favorite promotions found exclusively at powerslam.tv. So go to powerslam.tv and you'll get a free week. But if you use the promo code Chairshot, you will get a free month. Now, a month is only $6, but why not try it out and see if you like it first? And do it on us. Go to powerslam.tv, promo code Chairshot, get your free month. Again, that's powerslam.tv, promo code Chairshot.
The Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
It's like a video commercial too. Like we had an audio.
Very much like audio and video
for Angry Lemonade.
Yes. And for those of you who are just listening and you're not watching, Greg just put up his phone to the screen and did a little shout out to Angry Lemonade. 10% off your order using the code word Chairshot.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
All right. So topic number one. It's going to be fairly loaded. You know, for anyone who's been online, especially if you've been on Twitter, social media, reading articles, even talking to people. This first topic has been, I would say, fairly polarizing for multiple reasons. And so we're going to get into it because, you know, why not? And this is truly something that is part of my demographic. It's very rare as a female wrestling fan to be able to talk to something that is directly targeted at me. So I'm very glad to be able to discuss this with Greg. We're, you know, this is the first time him and I are truly talking this out. So we may be surprised by each other's opinions. We may not be surprised. You may be surprised by our opinions about this. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are after you listen to this show. So please reach out to us on social media at Chairshot Greg, at the hashtag Miranda. Let us know your thoughts. But AEW Heels. Last week, AEW officially announced the launch of AEW Heels. Now, it's been around for, you know, several months, actually. There was kind of a soft announcement a few months ago, and AEW had kind of did some soft opening events regarding this particular project. But the full launch came out about a week ago. And the way that AEW is describing AEW Heels, they've mentioned this specifically in their press release, and this is what I'm going to reference as far as how they are describing it, and then we're going to talk about it as far as some of these factors and our opinions. It is a female-focused wrestling community led by AEW Chief Brand Officer Brandy Rhodes and the stars of AEW's women's division, and they announced a new fan membership platform. Now, this platform is powered by wonderful unions. It's a secure digital platform, and really this is a way for female wrestling fans to access AEW Heels exclusive content and other benefits. And they really include in the statement, it's an all-in safe environment for engaging in conversation and developing friendships worldwide. This platform and this service, this community does have a fee. It is an annual paid membership of $49. Members receive access to a variety of features, including virtual meet and greets, video conference discussions with industry experts, exclusive AEW talent Q&A sessions, customized merchandise, special promotions, theme parties, and more. The secure space enables AEW Heel members to connect, learn, and thrive together through shared passions for women's wrestling. So that is, in their words, what AEW Heels is. And, you know, I hesitate a little bit to go into this because it's fairly loaded. You know, when AEW Heels first launched, and I talked about it on this show, it was something that I was supportive, and I still am conceptually. The concept of a company, the number 2 wrestling company in the world, to have a community specifically dedicated to female wrestling fans, I think it's important. I think it's a great thing. And we'll talk about all kind of, you know, the thoughts and challenges with that, and good efforts and bad efforts in it. But I think the concept as a whole is, you know, it's something positive and something good. Now, getting into, you know, some of these things here as far as the services that are provided as to this. And again, this may have been different. I think when it was initially launched, some of these features were mentioned as, exclusive items for this community. I'm sure within the time frame of COVID and these changes, there was probably going to be an emphasis on in-person events too, but right now everything is set in a digital environment. And the reason I mention this is because that does influence a bit of my decisions as to why some of these things are successful or won't be successful. But overall, I like the concept. However, some of the execution of this is not things that I'm fond of, and I'll get into that in a second. Greg, let's start off just with the concept first, and we'll deep dive into some of these other layers of it. What is your thought on just AEW branding this community, a female-focused wrestling community, AEW Heels?
Just focusing on the content, or the concept, since that's what you asked me to do. I like the concept. I think the concept is fantastic. I think the concept is something that everyone should get behind and support, and is a great idea and one that I wholeheartely believe in and believe AEW should believe in as well. Concept, 100%.
And that's why let's there's some layers to this. So we wanted to start off with that. The concept is good. It's definitely
holding back.
Different.
I'm holding back.
That's what we're gonna get.
I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this.
We're gonna get to it. Yes. So when this announcement, the original announcement was made several months ago. Now we actually have this structure here. And there was a lot of people commenting and discussing this being a paid subscription. So it's a community, but it is a paid subscription service that people can sign up for in order to get this content. Now, that is where things start to break down for me a little bit. Because, and I mentioned, when they originally put this together, it sounds like they were looking to do more in-person events, more live events, maybe special VIPs. That I would have understood if they had a payment fee or payment structure to it. Because in many events, sporting events, cons and all of that, you have a tiered payment system that if you want to get, exclusive VIP, exclusive meet and greets, events, seating, all of that, that is a paid structure. That makes sense. But we now live in a virtual world where a lot of these programs, organizations, events have gone virtual, and they've done it for free. So the fact that AEW decided to put a cost to this, one, doesn't quite seem like it was necessary compared to other events that are much bigger in span that didn't do that. And two, goes back to, the focus of this is to create a safe environment for people and one that they are able to share their fandom, get to know other people, all of that. That adding some kind of fee to it just adds this level of being disingenuous almost, that you're monetizing in order to create a safe space. And that is just a huge flaw in this. I mean, I do have to admit, me personally, $49 a year is not a lot of money, but that is from my perspective, and that's also another thing when you're looking at statistically a community or gender roles of people who are likely more disadvantaged and unable to afford certain things. Women are within that demographic. So again, for some people, $49 isn't a lot of money. For some people, it is. And that's a huge thing. Greg, I'll let you go into this as well, because it seems like this was something we kind of shared when we were discussing this as well. But I'm very curious on your thought when it comes to this being a paid service almost.
Let me ask you a question, because I'm trying. I don't want to go. At some point, I'm going to lose it, and
yes.
That's right. Yeah. That's why we're here. Let me ask you a question. Why did AEW start this?
Why did they start this? From my interpretation, my perception, they started this to have a space for female fans to be able to come together, to enjoy being wrestling fans, and to do that without fear or harassment that can be associated sometimes when you are a female wrestling fan.
No, they started this to make money. It's the same reason they do everything. AEW is a business. And one thing that AEW has done from the jump is figure out how can we take this small, vocal, group of wrestling fans that is passionate, that is hardcore, that is active, and how can we make every single dollar from them possible? That's what AEW does. That's their business model. Nothing about how they're booked, nothing about how they market the company, nothing anything says they want to grow to a larger group of people. It tells me they want to get as much money as they can out of the people they currently have. And that's what this is. Everything you described in comparison for AEW Heels to other groups, other things that take place outside of AEW Heels are fan festivals, are fan clubs, are fan VIP experiences. And that's what this is. This is a fan club, but they refuse to call it a fan club. They call it an all-inclusive community. But Wonderful Union is literally a fan club company. That's what they do. Wonderful Union provides an organization with a way to make money off of being a fan club. And you pay $49 to Wonderful Union or whatever the price is for your specific fan club, and the group probably gets half of it or a certain percentage of it, and Wonderful Union does all this stuff. All these same things that could be accomplished through a Facebook group and Zoom, which don't cost that much money. Some of them are free. And that's where the disingenuous part comes in for me, because this is just a money grab is what it is to me. And I can't and it just falls in line with everything else they've done, where they tell people, you're one of us, we're one of you. And really it's just like, how can we get more money out of you? And that's what AEW Heels really is, which is a shame, because like I said, the concept, fantastic. The execution is just exposed it for what it is.
And I want to get in, again, this is late because not only was there criticism regarding the price of this or the fact that they were charging, but exactly what you had just mentioned regarding the way that the company has held the women's division. And that's been one of the things that I think has been consistently criticized. I think there's other elements of the company that there still is a pretty, healthy fan base that defends, maybe their tag team division, the TNT championship, the world championship, every storyline or wrestler on there. But I do think that there is seemingly a strong consensus that the women's division is lacking. And it is also almost kind of this enigma of how do you then promote this women-focused community when you can't seem to do that on your weekly television show, that you don't seem to have a woman focus, or you're not even taking your women's division seriously. Or so that too, I think that doesn't help this particular cause, because it is more about what you do than what you say. I think that that's an important factor in life. Don't tell me what you're going to do, show me what you're going to do. And again, the concept itself is great. I think that more companies do need to take a stance on supporting women, not only in the ring, but their fan bases. And so, this, I think, can do great things, but then you have to have this, it's a trickle-down effect that, no one may even take this seriously, or your fan base you can do all the things in the world to set up a healthy environment, but if you don't project that on TV or in your content with your women's division, you're going to lose some validity. You're going to lose a fan basis that believes that you can be the future of professional wrestling, which is what they did. They did this whole press conference and made a big show about what they were going to do in professional wrestling, and it feels like this is the one area that they've consistently underdelivered.
And here's the crazy thing. First of all, I want to do something recent and then go backwards when we talk about the women's division. The week that AEW announced Heels and released all this information, the women got less than 5 minutes on AEW Dynamite. Mm-hmm. Like that's one of the worst weeks of, and Ray Cash did this research, and you can hear it on Outsider's Edge, which was on Friday over at the Chairshot.com. I think it was 24 weeks of television. The women have been featured on 22 of those 24 weeks of AEW television. Never more than one match on a program. And they have a ton of women on the roster, which we can talk about a little bit when we get into the Deadly Draw. But and I hear an argument that the women just aren't very good in AEW, and I don't agree with that. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with that at all. Honestly, the bulk of the issues with AEW's women's division fall squarely on the shoulders of Kenny Omega, because he's the guy who books the women's division. Kenny Omega is a fantastic in-ring professional wrestler. He's just not a good booker. And that's okay. That's not really his job. Look, the tag team division in AEW is a mess because it's booked by the Young Bucks. They're great wrestlers. They're not great bookers. The only member of their executive committee who knows what they're doing in terms of running anything is Cody Rhodes. And he's one of 5 people that they've put in these executive vice president positions, and he's the only one who knows what the hell he's doing. And he's one of 2 who hasn't deleted their Twitter account. So it's just insane to me that we're in this position, but no one should be surprised. Like, this is who's running the company and the women's division, and it's a shame because I've literally seen people suggest they scrap the women's division altogether, and that's nuts.
No,
because they got a ton of talent.
Yeah.
A ton of talent in that division. They're just not using it properly. And that's all Kenny Omega's fault and Tony Khan's fault. And honestly, I've destroyed Tony Khan on social media on these programs, and he actually deserves a lot of credit for holding things together despite the efforts of people like the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. So because he's the one who stepped in and said, no, I need to help write this show because you guys booking it only gets us so far. And hell, Tony Khan's done such a great job that WWE put a guy named Khan as their president. So there you go. Thanks to Tony Khan. But it just befuddles me, big word there for you, how bad the women's division is when they got a ton of great talent. And I hate when people say the women's division, when they down the talent in the AEW's women's division, because that's insane. They really do have a lot of great talent. You got to watch Dark to see most of it, but they really do have a lot of great talent in the women's division, and it's just a shame what they've done with it. And don't even try to compare what WWE does to what AEW does for the women's division, because you cannot tell me, I'm not talking to Miranda Morales, I'm talking to viewer and listener out there, you cannot tell me that AEW has done a better job with their women's division than WWE has.
No.
That is an irresponsible statement.
No, 100%. And you know what? They do have some stiff competition because running at the same time that runs, I think, the best women's division in all of pro wrestling is NXT. Like,
I don't know if people have listened yet, but on the Greg DeMarco show, we ranked all the top championships in the world, and the highest ranked women's championship and the number 5 ranked championship in the entire world today was the NXT Women's Championship.
Yep.
I'm looking on the list for the AEW
100%.
Women's Championship. I don't even think we ever brought the title up during the episode.
No. You know, and it's funny. So when we were doing the Greg DeMarco show, we kind of did this role reversal where Greg was very adamant about trying to get AEW on this titles list, and I was not. And usually I'm the one defending AEW or giving them the benefit of the doubt, and Greg is, pretty shitting on them. We've gotten back to that dynamic on this show, but also Andrew Belaz found it hilarious that I spent one show of crapping on AEW, and I'm on this show talking about it. And I feel like this will be a fair assessment of both, good things and bad things about, the idea of Heels, the women's division, things that they're doing and things that they're not doing, because I think there's 2 sides to it. Now, going back to what you were saying with the women's division, I absolutely agree. There's no need to scrap this. Absolutely no need. They've had some bad luck with the division. It's been injury prone. They've had issues now with travel. So maybe some ideas and things that they originally had in place, were impacted by it, especially it was already a small roster to begin with.
Everybody's had those problems. Everyone has. That's not unique to AEW.
No,
that's the entire world. I'm
just saying that I think it's impacted their women's roster harder than any of the other rosters, because it was already thin to begin with. It was already very limited.
Thin. They have like a ton of talent. They have as many people in their division as Impact Wrestling does in the Knockouts division. But I don't think anyone can fairly say that their division is even better than Impact Wrestling's division.
No, that's also true. The Knockouts division's on point. That is a good division, and I think, and that's the crazy part. Impact Wrestling is one where a lot of people have been shitting on it for years because it's the easy thing to do. But the Impact Knockouts division is one to watch. And the fact that AEW is not even in that conversation, even with other independents, across the U.S. or across the world, when you are kind of being put on this pedestal as a number 2 company, there's, like you mentioned, we don't see them a lot on TV, and there was a big criticism regarding the Deadly Draw tournament not being featured on Dynamite. That it's
not even being featured on Dynamite. Miranda, They didn't even mention it on last Wednesday's show. Now I'm talking about if this airs on Thursday, not talking about yesterday, but the week before. Yeah. The first Dynamite after the revelation of all the details of AEW Heels. Not only did they give the women the shortest amount of time or second shortest amount of time in the history of their program, they didn't even mention the Deadly Draw during the show. No highlights, no mention, no anything. You got a 2-hour show where you're supposedly light on talent, and you can't mention the Deadly Draw. You can't show highlights about the Deadly Draw. And I'm supposed to believe you care about the Deadly Draw, and I'm supposed to watch it on YouTube when you didn't tell your entire audience where to find it? Like that just, it's just mind-blowing, because I think someone, either Brandy or Kenny, wanted to do this, and they were like, okay, I guess we'll do it. Oh, we'll put it on YouTube. Like, and not even during dark. Like, it's not even good enough to be during dark.
Exactly. That's a whole other issue, is that there isn't a lot of continuity in their stories, even within their shows. You know, they actually, I think dark has a lot of good content and a lot of good wrestling, but it feels like a separate product. And I don't know why, even if they intentionally do that, why they would intentionally want to do that. And even going back to the women's division, you know, when we were talking about, I believe, Fyter Fest, was when we had Sheeta and Penelope Ford. Yeah. And that was a sleeper match. Like, that was one where a lot of people didn't know what to expect, because Penelope Ford came in to replace Chris Statlander. And Penelope Ford's been with that division for quite a while, and this was the biggest match that she's had. It was a solid, good match. And instead of using that momentum to help elevate her as kind of a top competitor in the division, she dropped back down. So they're not even moving with the momentum that they build. I think they're absolutely capable of building momentum, but it doesn't stick for very long. So it's those types of concerns and questions that I have. Again, if you don't take your women's division seriously, if you don't treat them with the airtime that they need in order to flourish, if you're not plugging and promoting this tag team tournament, especially if it's not going to be on weekly television, it's on YouTube, and you're not really trying as hard to promote it as you promote your weekly television shows, you're doing a tag team appreciation night. You don't need to do that. Let's take a second for that. You don't need to. If you appreciate tag team wrestling, let's just take the belts and put them on somebody else. That's just me.
50% of their programming has been tag team appreciation.
Yes.
And it's not even really tag team appreciation, because it's Spot Fest appreciation, because that's all their tag team division is. Yeah. It's because they don't know what they're doing, Miranda. They have no idea. They don't know how to produce television, because none of them have ever done it. And it's fine. You want to learn how to produce television? Great. Go buy some cameras and produce something for Fight TV. You can't go from working for someone to running a show on TNT. Like if it wasn't for this hardcore fan base that they're trying to fleece every penny out of, they wouldn't last on TNT. It's insane to me that these people are in charge. And it just blows my mind. Like throw a bunch of money at somebody and get them to come in and fix this, because they're doing a disservice to the talent. They're doing a disservice to the time slot. They're doing a disservice to the brand, but with what they're doing. And they're literally held together by duct tape and Chris Jericho at this point. And it's just, it just makes me sad, because the talent is so good, and the execution, just like Heels, just like the women's division, it's a damn shame.
Well, and for me, the biggest thing is, don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do. I think that any effort that AEW puts in press releases and conference, all these types of big things, social media, that energy really should be focused on putting it into your product. I think that they really need to take a step back from, engaging with people on Twitter and putting out all these press releases, and really, because I understand they want to have that connectivity. They want to have this transparency. And I put that there because I feel like they're attempting to put a level of transparency, and people do grasp to that. But is it truly transparent, or is it really just a way to say that you're going to do something to appease people and do something completely different?
It's less genuine than Be a Star. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. And you know how I feel.
I don't know about that.
I do.
I don't know about that.
Be a Star has years of things that it's actually accomplished and done, despite the motivation behind it. AEW Heels is charged to people for a Zoom call. Like, it's literally what we're doing right now.
I was going to say, I do feel like Be a Star, I mean, that's deeply rooted. I do feel like, AEW Heels is still just a few months. Now, going back to what you're saying, I haven't seen a lot from it. Now, I have to admit, I have not been a part of any of the initial events. They did have 2 free events for people to participate in, and that in and of itself was fairly popular. They got full right away. So I don't know what their capacity measures were, but there definitely was a population left out because they had reached capacity very quickly. So there is a fan base, and I'm sure they gauged it. But as far as actual exclusive content, now that is something that's been missing. And also another thing I've seen a lot of feedback on is that really all they're doing is retweeting or sharing stories of female roster members. Nothing really unique or special that is really leading people. Like, really, they're just copying things that other people, their rosters doing, their pictures. Yeah, that's already out there, and just, embodying it. Community. So that's another thing that feels like a little like I wouldn't want to pay that type of money, or that's just something that feels a little cheap when you're not putting out anything very specific. You're just sharing and tweeting.
To something you talked about, the press releases and what they put out there, and I really want to talk about that because that's another issue that I have with. You talked about putting the effort one way to another. If you read their press releases, there's a lot of issue with the left hand not knowing what the right hand's doing or talking about. In the press release that you read parts of, it literally says that the secure space enables AEW Heels members to connect, learn, and thrive together through shared passions for women's wrestling. Now, people called Brandy Rhodes out on Twitter about this, and you know what she said? Her literal words were, "This is not about women's wrestling. This is about female fans." She said Heels was not about women's wrestling. But the press release literally says, "Thrive together through shared passions for women's wrestling." But Brandy Rhodes, the chief branding officer of the company, said it's not about women's wrestling. It's about female fans. They talk about a disconnect. There's a disconnect internally between what they're putting out and what they're doing. And she said this stuff on Twitter. Now, she deleted her Twitter account, which, by the way, one of the things they talked about was social media strategies from Brandy Rhodes, the person who can't keep her Twitter open. And it's just mind-blowing. And can we talk about Brandy deleting her Twitter also?
Yeah, so I do want to go to both her deleting her Twitter and then the announcement that she made on Instagram.
Well, and I'm all over the place. And I'm passionate, and I'm going nuts.
No, that's okay.
Why did Brandy delete her Twitter, Miranda? Why did Brandy claim she deleted her Twitter?
I don't know. I'm not on Twitter.
Cody claims that Brandy deleted her Twitter because people came after her using racial slurs on Twitter. Now, and I'm not here to call somebody a liar, but here's the thing, okay? Dominik Dijakovic in NXT put out a tweet probably in support of Retribution. That tweet was out for less than a minute, okay? We got screenshots zoomed in finding hidden messages in these tweets, but no one can find a single screenshot of anybody calling Brandy a negative thing on Twitter before she deleted her account.
I am personally not a fan of Twitter, so I really don't know what someone's threshold is. I don't blame her, though. I really don't. Regardless of who you are, no one should have to go through that kind of abuse. Now, I think that there is a difference between.
Figure, though, like this is
hey,
what
look, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to distinguish. Let me finish. Okay. There is a difference between criticism and abuse. And I think that maybe the amount of criticism that came on felt like abuse, and there absolutely could have been. I'm not here to argue that there wasn't things said, because you know what? It is the internet. Like, I don't doubt, and who knows, maybe these were DMs. Like, I don't know what was said that to her, but it wouldn't surprise me. You know, it is the internet. There's right. People online who constantly say terrible things, and a lot of them directed towards women. But I also do feel like there was probably a fair amount of criticism, and that may have added to that. You know, I think that for every person who maybe supported it, there was probably several that didn't support it for one reason or another. And that's the thing. There's multi-prongs of issues with this, whether it's people coming at it for the cost, people feeling that it's not very, all-inclusive to women or those identifying as women. that, it's not reflective of the company's stance on women's wrestling, that, so many things to it, but those are, I think, the major ones that are coming out. But you know what? I don't blame her to take some time off Twitter. Now, I don't think this is permanent, but right. I honestly do not blame her for taking a break, because there's a lot probably that was thrown at her and directed at her. And again, this is her project. It was stated in the press release, and she has been the face of AEW Heels. But I probably would have taken a step back from Twitter after everything that was thrown at me with that, if I was her. Now, she did go on Instagram, so her Instagram is still active. And in that, she did release a statement on there saying that the membership sign-up necessary to continue to move the fan club onward, they met their numbers. They exceeded their numbers. Now, I also think, too, there was criticism about what she posted it with, and it was a picture of her in a bathing suit, which was part of a photo shoot that they did with multiple women from the roster. They did a special photo shoot of them on the beach. And again, I see both sides. There were some people saying that she is the chief brand officer. Why do you include a message on that with you in a bikini? Also, though,
she's not really the chief brand officer. She's playing chief brand officer.
Look, I'm just saying that there are people who believe that due to the status and the role that she plays in the company, that should have been a more professional picture. And I understand that in some ways, but you're also in the world of pro wrestling and entertainment. There's lots of entertainers, lots of actors, actresses, all these types of people who do these same things and wear the same exact thing. So I do believe people were going to come at her no matter what, with what she was wearing, what she said, what she didn't say. Do I think it, again, would have been more credible? It's hard to say. I think it goes back to how you really are going to structure this and how women are perceived in your division, that I think will help people really feel like this is more of a genuine process. And there was even criticism on the photo shoot that was, setting women's wrestling back 10 years because you have a bikini shoot. Though there's a sense of empowerment as well. We've also seen in women's wrestling and in entertainment in general that women have the right to wear what they want and to be photographed how they want, and to live in a way that they want. However, it does feel there are elements to it that are still a little tone deaf. That it wasn't the vision that you have for empowerment looks differently for lots of people. Some people find empowerment, working out. Some people find empowerment in a bikini. Some people find empowerment in the office. Some people find empowerment in a kitchen. Some people find it in art or fixing, or whatever it is. Empowerment looks different for other people. That is what I kind of just wanted to convey with that. But I do think you make a good point where she is someone that, there is a title there, but it doesn't always feel like that in the communications that are sent out directly on social media. Like, there is a disconnect between a title and the role and this prestige that this person has compared to what is portrayed on social media.
Can I ask you another question? This is okay. I understand that a lot of stuff got thrown at Brandy Rhodes on social media. And I also understand that those things are wrong, terribly inappropriate, and unacceptable. Do you think it's anything compared to what's been thrown at Stephanie McMahon over the years?
Well,
Stephanie McMahon is the chief brand officer of WWE. Yeah. I mean, and literally, and Triple H is the executive vice president. Like, Cody and Brandy are copying the roles that Triple H and Stephanie McMahon hold. Because, again, we've talked about it before on this show and on my show. Wrestlers start companies because they want to be in charge. And that's exactly what this is. They happen to be friends with Conrad Thompson, who happen to be friends with Tony Khan, who happen to be able to put a bunch of money in this. Poof, you got your own wrestling company. And they got you on TNT. I don't begrudge you for any of it. But, again, these people don't belong in these positions. And they're proving it with what they do day in and day out. A chief brand officer should be able to handle or just ignore what's been thrown at you on social media. It comes with the role. Like, it sucks and it's inappropriate, but you got to know what you're signing up for. You got to know what you're getting into. Your AEW Heels literally says you're going to give out social media branded marketing strategies with Brandy Rhodes, and she can't keep her Twitter open. And the number one social media advice anybody should give anybody else is ignore what people say, because they're worthless people saying these things about you. And
do you believe that Stephanie McMahon actually handles her own Twitter?
I believe that she handles her own Twitter. The way it works in WWE is they do post their own personal messages, but then the company will also pop out things for them that are branded. But a lot of what you see when it's a personal message is a personal message. Does Vince McMahon handle his own Twitter? No. The Triple H and Stephanie? Yes. Stephanie probably handles Vince McMahon's Twitter, to be 100% honest with you. Like, they have people, and it'll get reviewed and all of that, and they hire for social media positions. There's some listed on their job site right now. But talent and people, they can use their social media. That's why when they leave, they take that social media account with them, and they take that following with them.
Well, I think it's also very different circumstances. You know, I do think Stephanie was born into this business. She's had a lot more experience in it. She's seen every corner and every aspect of it. And still, Brandy Rose is still, you know, on the newer side compared to Stephanie. So, and I think it's just, you know, different backgrounds, different circumstances,
then why
different
is she
experience
the chief learning
levels.
officer of a major organization with no experience in that position whatsoever? No experience 2 positions lower than that whatsoever. Like, she got it because she's with Cody, and they got Tony Khan to start AEW.
Well, you know, it's not so much the positions that bother me. Like I said, it's just more of the disconnect in the way that things are presented and the positions. And again, we're also, I mean, when you look at a startup company, when you look at companies, you see a lot of people in leadership roles really young. Like, I think that's also just part of the culture of business now. You have literally a titan like WWE that's been around for 30 plus years with more established business people and leadership roles, where startup companies now have startup leaders. And so that doesn't really seem totally off the cuff for me personally, in just my exposure and understanding of startup companies. And again, that's just my correlation. I view AEW as a startup company that happens to be focused on wrestling. But when you look at lots of startups and all that, tech firms, whatnot, you have leaders who, you know, are in their 20s. You know, sometimes they'll bring in older leadership for higher roles maybe, but not always, because they go with, you know, those people who have been there from the beginning. And I think it's also just another aspect of business. It's done differently. You know, it's not what we see in a traditional sense, but it's, I think, a lot more common than we think.
But it's failing in so many ways for AEW. And maybe part of it's the industry that they're in. I don't know. But they're not doing anything about it. Like they're deactivating Twitters. And they're still putting out disconnected messages. Like, keep them in their roles. That's fine. But bring somebody in to help them. Bring somebody in
I
an
hope,
advisory role.
Yeah, I do hope. You know, again, this is still fairly new. I do hope, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that this is a learning experience. And I think eventually they will, because I can't imagine how exhausting it is to constantly be on Twitter, to just, you know, reply to random people's messages or tweets.
But you don't have to. That's the thing.
No, but you know, again, it's what they are deciding to do right now. It is at their discretion. It's them. Is it sustainable? I don't think so. You know, is it part of their mission and vision as a company? I do see that. You know, I do see that this is
on social media.
Yes, I get that. You know, and you're still being on brand for that. I do want to jump before we run out of time into Deadly Draw, because there's also criticism within that I think feeds into AEW Heels, but also there's some shining parts of it that I do want to acknowledge. So we talked about Deadly Draw a few weeks ago prior to the rules being established, and we were pretty much kind of on point as to what this tournament was going to be. So instead of teams being picked by wrestlers or decided on, they were doing it at a random draw. So there were poker chips in a box, and those who picked the same colors were going to be teamed together. Some people, it seems like it was very polarizing, that either people we knew, we had a gut feeling we're going to be teamed together, we're teamed together, and then people who we had no idea were going to be teamed together, or not even on the roster, were teamed together. So right now, as of this week, we've had 2 episodes of the Deadly Draw. Each week there's 2 matches. So we've had 4 first round matches so far. The first we had Penelope Ford and Meg teaming up against the Nightmare Sisters. Brandy and Allie did win. No surprise there. Nyla Rose. Yes, and that's another thing we'll talk about in a second, because there will be something that this happens, I will lose my shit. Nyla Rose teamed with Adrian. She used to go by Adrian, who formerly from WWE NXT, used to team with Naomi as part of the Funkadactyls. We haven't seen her in quite a while. She picked the same poker chip as Nyla Rose, and they were a team versus Anna Jay and Ty Conti. Taya. I missed the A there. We haven't seen Taya since she was released from NXT.
It is just Tay. It was she was in Nora. Okay. She was Taya's in Impact. You know that. Yeah.
No, I thought it was okay. I know they pronounce it differently. That's why
they may have
Tay. No Ty.
I don't know.
And Anna Jay and Ty won, which was a surprise, based off of, having that powerhouse of Nyla Rose. But again, we know she doesn't work well in teams, so this was probably a great exit for her. And then this past week, we had 2 more matches. We had Big Swole teaming up against Lil Swole, Miss Nicole Savoy, which I'm a big fan of that. Love that dynamic. Versus Leva Bates and Rashay, which is someone, again, not on the current roster. And then this last match, which to me was, I think, the most entertaining out of all of them so far. We had Dasha. So Dasha Gonzalez, who's usually an announcer and backstage interviewer, making her in-ring debut with partner Rachel Ellering, who we haven't seen since last year, also released by NXT, versus the team of Ivelisse and Diamante. And going back to the first match, Big Swole and Little Swole won. And in the second match, we had Ivelisse and Diamante move forward. So there's good elements to this. Now, we joked on this show not too long ago that if this tournament is just set up for the Nightmare Sisters to win, I'm going to lose it. And I think you had even predicted, at that time, we didn't know that Ivelisse and Diamante were going to be a team, but it's been pretty much pushed, and I'm very glad that this happened.
We predicted they would be a team. We predicted that Nyla would lose in the first round because she doesn't do well with others.
So obviously they're listening to this show. So everyone listens, yes. And with the teams that have advanced, it is very likely there's still 2 more matches left to trying to do my math. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, they're the 4.
Yeah. So there's still, a few episodes left before we get to the semis, but it could possibly be, as we talked about, a Nightmare Sisters versus Ivelisse and Diamante final. To me, that would be awesome. I believe the Nightmare Sisters are going to be going up against Little Swole and Big Swole in their round.
I believe so.
Yeah, there's so many. I have to actually just look at.
I don't know because, I watched Dynamite and they didn't talk about it, so I don't really know.
And then I believe Anna Jay and Tay, they're going to be going up against Ivelisse and Diamante. So going back to this, and even the character. Now, I think that hasn't helped a whole lot of the situation. We've seen, the Nightmare Sisters do some promo work. Brandy's been who's very focused on stuff. Someone who thinks she's that isn't the person that she is, but what she's trying to portray, or an extension, or what she thinks people think that she is, whatever that may be. I think, though, people are buying into that as who she really is. And you know what? Hey, kayfabe, in 2020, that's what you got to do. If she knows that that's how people project her and think that she believes in herself that way, why not add that to her character? I think that makes perfect sense. But another thing, again, that makes this a little skewed. I mean, she had mentioned that they had all these AEW action figures released, and there's only one female action figure out there. Whose is it? It's Brandy's. Now, a lot of people had asked, why weren't there other people involved in this process or identified to be action figures? And apparently on Twitter, they mentioned that it was based off of, there was a very short timeline and deadline in order to get this ball rolling. And it was really the core people that they knew were signed to the company. Even though Britt Baker was announced as part of their initial signings, but.
Well, and I don't fault them for that. Like, knowing it takes so long. Like, you don't decide on a Tuesday to do action figures and put them out on Thursday. I mean, it takes 9 months to a year. So I think you can criticize them if less women are involved in the second round of action figures. Mm-hmm. But of all the things we can criticize them for, I don't think the action figures are. That's just people complaining from a position of ignorance, just not knowing what they're talking about, which is wrestling fans on Twitter.
And again, it's another thing. That's why I have a bit more sympathy towards her, towards the situation, just because there's things that have been stacked upon each other over the past few weeks that are all coming in together to create this pile. Now, again, it does go back to even elements of this, that if all we do is to see the Nightmare Sisters win this tournament, I'm going to lose my shit. I'm going to lose it. Because why is this all to elevate a tag team when you have lots of other wrestlers part of it? Now, I am a bit biased as well. I think Ivelisse and Diamante should win. And especially if you have that final, you have a much more established tag, just two individual wrestlers that are much more established. Maybe they haven't, teamed together before. This is actually the first time they have, but they've competed all over. They've had lengthy history and training, and the fact that the Nightmare Sisters would get one over on them. Now, this is jumping ahead. We don't know what the finals are going to look like, but the way things are stacking up and sizing up, even the fact that if we have the Nightmare Sisters versus Lil Swole and Big Swole, both Lil Swole and Big Swole, very talented wrestlers, years of experience between the two, some of the, the most notable in independent wrestling now.
Even I just think Nicole Savoy has to be Lil Swole. Like she could be Nicole Savoy. I'll be honest with you. I'd be fine with any of the other three teams winning. I'd be fine if they found a way to make those three teams the finalists in some kind of triple threat and put it on All Out. Like do something big, because there's a ton of talent on those three teams. There's a ton of talent that could be building blocks. You could you put those three teams out there, your women's tag team division is just as good as WWE's at that point. Mm-hmm. And I'm just scared, because we've seen, you talked about earlier with Penelope Ford, right? Got her in title match, and then she's back on Dark doing nothing. Like, what's going to happen with these teams and these women after this is over? Mm-hmm. Because they are, despite all the drawbacks, despite everything they've done wrong, they've got talent, and people are talking about those talents. What do you do with them? Yeah. And that's my concern, because they haven't proven they can. Maybe they'll prove us wrong. I hope they prove us wrong. Yeah. But I don't think Brandy and Allie are going to win. I really don't. I don't think they'd be that stupid to have Brandy and Allie win this thing. I think they'll be in the finals, and they'll probably lose. And that's a shame, too, because of the four teams remaining, I'd rank them 4th out of 4. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to see the other three teams get that shot over them.
Yeah. No, it's a good point, and I like to give them the benefit. I like to say even things about the structure were very entertaining with the, random draws, the way that they brought in people that we hadn't seen in quite a while. One thing that did surprise me, and it was kind of a tell based off of who they brought in for announcing, they brought in Shaul Guerrero to announce, which at that point you knew something was going to happen with Dasha. You've heard her story about her being injured and not being able to wrestle. Her goal was to wrestle. They capitalized a bit on her recent stint on the Titan Games, and to have her involved, I thought, was a really fun element to this. It didn't feel super forced, and it didn't feel so outrageous. This wasn't like Michael Cole getting into a ring. It was someone who had trained to be a wrestler, whose intention was to be a wrestler, who was fairly athletic, getting in the ring in this capacity. And again, it was a losing effort, but there's elements. Seeing Rachel Ellering, back after an injury that she had that, was pretty substantial. The way that they teased Ivelisse and Diamante being a team when they fought each other several weeks ago and really got this ball going. There's elements of this that are interesting, and I wish that they had a bigger platform like on Dynamite, because they had the room, they have the time. And you're right, I do hope that this leads to something big at All Out, that this doesn't end just on YouTube, because I do feel like they deserve to have a match on that platform. But what else are we going to do? Right now they're really not setting up the women's division to have anything other than the women's championship match, which right now we haven't really seen an established new number one contender. All we do see is Britt Baker on TV in a wheelchair, doing her thing, which is entertaining, don't get me wrong. But again, what are you doing about the actual wrestling and your division in order to help build it up? And you had an opportunity like this that was fairly unique and different. And the fact that it's not on TV, and you could have spread it out. It's not like you have, you have all this overflowing content that you absolutely have to pack together every week. You're literally going to be running months on end in empty arenas. This could have on TV. So again, it's still remaining to be seen, but there's elements within the Deadly Draw tournament that I do see that help me become optimistic about the women's division and the talent. And like you said too, what is going to happen after this? Are any of these women going to be signed? Are they going to have a future with the company, or are they just going to be on here for a few episodes and we don't see them again? Who knows? But I do feel like they need to really consider looking at signing some of these women and having a long-term plan for them, because the other women that they have, at least on their website, on their roster, are injured, have travel issues, or they're not utilizing. So they really need to take a deep dive, really look at the roster, really look at what they want the future to be, because they have the creativity to do it. They have the elements. I say this too about WWE. I put high expectations on them because they have millions of dollars and some of the best talent in the entire world. There's absolutely no excuse for them to not put a solid product on there. Other than being young, AEW has a lot of those same things. They have money, they have talent, they have resources, they have TV, and they should be able to put a really good product out. They're still young. That to me is kind of the only downfall, or the only area where I could see, yes, it's just time. Naturally time is going to help things out. But all the other factors, they have all the resources available to them. They really need to take a deep dive. Final thoughts on going back to our original topic, AEW Heels. Do you think that this is going to last as its intention of a female-focused wrestling community?
I think it'll last as its intention of a money-making fan club. And I do think it'll last because it's the fan base. The fan base is hardcore and will continue to pay for it. I'd be interested to see how the renewals work when that happens, when the initial group has to renew their memberships, and how that goes. But yeah, I think it'll work just because they're fleecing their fan base. I don't think it's going to work as in the way that the press release you read. But I think it's going to work in its actual intention, which is to make money. And that's what they're doing. Just like selling t-shirts and everything else they do. It's a money grab.
I want to believe that it's going to do exactly what it does, what they say they're going to do. I do feel, though, that it's causing too much tension, that it's going to be hard. It's very divisive. There's still going to be fans who are on board 100% and feel like that money is well worth spent. And there's going to be a fan base that feels like they're doing something that's more self-serving, and it's only a ploy to get money. It's only a ploy to get publicity. It's only a ploy to make them feel good and not truly create an environment that is supportive of women, or at least one that has true effort, that they can put effort, but it's going to be shared Instagram stories and Zoom calls and nothing truly innovative or creative or inclusive. I want to be proven wrong. I really do. And I'm going to give it time, but am I going to sign up for it? No. I personally will not. If there comes a time where I think the content is worth the price for me, I think I'd absolutely evaluate that as well, and reconsider. But at this moment in time, I don't think that cost is for me specifically. I do feel like also, creating a community too is also in the actions that we do and what we do as fans, as people involved in wrestling. So I'm just trying to make it my mission or my goal as a fan to do what I can to make others feel inclusive and start there. I think that that's the simplest things. And if they don't have people kind of evaluate where we're at first and how do you as an individual help create an inclusive environment for people, then you don't need to, that's not worth $49 to me. Starting where the fan base is, starting where people are, and trying to educate, that I think is what my goal is and what I want to do, and just treating people with the respect and dignity and kindness that they deserve as wrestling fans, regardless, of how they identify. But also at the same time, especially for female fans, female identifying fans, people who support and enjoy women's wrestling, because those are, all part of one thing. I also do hope for the future that we see better booking. I disagree with the statement that this is not about women's wrestling. It absolutely is, because if it wasn't for the rise in women's wrestling and those who are on TV and those who provide their talent, it would be a very different environment for women's wrestling fans to be in. And you have to acknowledge that if you are going to be a company as big as you are, you have to be able to put the best foot forward in anything that you do. And it can't just be about this fan club but we focus on women's wrestling different. They're synonymous. The way you treat women on TV and the way you acknowledge their presence and their role in the company is significant of how your female fans are going to feel. And how you feel like, that just like in any workplace, really, when you look at a workplace and how they treat women and how they empower them, how they, allow them to grow and be their best selves, that is an indicator of how well the company is and how good the company is. And you can't just have this community but say, well, it's separate than women's wrestling. It's the same, especially when your product is wrestling. They are synonymous. So do both. You can do both. Be good at both. You don't have to choose one. You have the resources, the money, the talent to do both. So don't be afraid to do both. Don't feel like you can't do both. You absolutely can do both.
They'll do both when the white dudes in charge care about it. Or the white dudes in charge are smart enough to put somebody else in charge who knows and cares about it. Because what we see on TV is put out there by 5 white dudes, and they just don't care that much about it. And that's evident by what they're doing. There's a tag team appreciation night, and yet the announcement of Heels couldn't be surrounded by a whole show about women's wrestling.
I'm so tired. The logic and all this. I try to give the benefit of the doubt, and then you just keep me coming back. I want to
be wrong. I do, but
no, you're right.
Ego is a big part of this too, and they all have big egos, and that's why they're doing this. And it's just, and it just pains me because I like you, I see the potential there and tremendous potential there. And history has not proved, they have not proven historically to be able to build things over a long term, do long-term storytelling, and B, care enough about women's wrestling. Can they change it? Of course they can. It's wrestling. You can change anything in 2 weeks in wrestling. Will they? Remains to be seen. I hope so. Prove me wrong.
I'd love to be proven wrong. But again, you can do both. You can do both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can have an inclusive community, and you can put together really fantastic wrestling. And again, the Deadly Draw has good elements. It has good bones, as I'd like to say. It has good foundations. It has good ideas. It has good talent. So the potential is there, and hopefully they use this. Now, again, I also want to give everyone involved the benefit of the doubt. I do not believe in, online harassment or abuse or any of that as well. I do think the criticism is fair. That is a true ass statement. All of this criticism is fair, and I hope that they look at this as not just fans being angry, fans being spiteful, fans complaining about everything because that's wrestling fans, that they're looking at this with a critical eye. Because that any company that wants to do anything long-term has to look at their customers and what they're doing with a critical eye. So I hope AEW is around for a long time. I hope this community is. I hope their women's division grow. And I hope they can take an opportunity to truly evaluate all of the feedback that they're getting and really start making those adjustments. Now, we do have a few sponsors we do want to plug before we end this show. Greg, roll it.
Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to Lucha-Masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at Lucha-Masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
This is your boy Killy Killer telling you to make sure you check out Chairshot.com, bringing you breaking news, interviews, podcasts galore, everything pro wrestling. Make sure you check it out, Chairshot.com.
What were you showing for those?
That was I just pulled up the Chairshot.com, website.
Chairshot.com, yes.
And and it was right now, of course, 2 days later, it's Andrew's Impact ratings results, or Impact Wrestling results and match ratings.
Yes.
Check them out.
Check them out.
You cover Impact better than almost anybody.
Yes, absolutely. That is good. Najir and I, we cover it for Big Gold Belt Media. I just got to plug that in. You can go check it out at Big Gold Belt Media.
Well, and if people follow directions, should also be able to see that at the Chairshot.com.
Yes. Go to Chairshot.com, Big Gold Belt Group. Words are coming together. Everything's so
that your review of Impact Wrestling is supposed to be on the Chairshot.com as of this week.
Oh.
I usually don't announce something until it actually happens, but yeah, the fact that you don't know about that makes me a little worried, but that's okay.
No, I may be. We'll talk offline. Also, I realized how tired I am because I'm looking again at the teams for the Deadly Draw tournament, and I realized Ty Conti. And I realized I began this show talking about my mom. That's my mom's nickname, and I couldn't read it on a screen. Like, that's how... I don't know what's happening, where I was so worked up about this. I mispronounced Ty's name like 3 times. And I'm thinking, now it all hit me. That is my mom's nickname. Like, she's had that nickname forever. I don't call her that, but like everybody else calls her that. Right. And I messed that up. So my deepest apologies, because that was not intentional whatsoever. And I think it's just one of those topics that can be very draining and long, and lots of news out there in the world of pro wrestling, but it is Ty Conti.
There's a lot to it. There's a lot to the topic and a lot to all of it.
Yes. Well, listeners and watchers, thank you so much for being a part of the latest edition of the #Miranda Show, which is part of the Chairshot Radio Network on thechairshot.com.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
Chairshot.com. Always use your head.
Do not forget to follow the Chairshot on social media at Chairshot Media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also follow my co-host Greg DeMarco at Chairshot Greg on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I myself, again, the Twitterless heroine, am not on Twitter, so go follow at Chairshot Media. But if you want to just follow me specifically, well, you can go to at the #Miranda on Instagram and Facebook. There you can leave your comments and let me know what you think of this week's show and this week's topic. I'm very interested in finding out, men, women, everyone, all wrestling fans alike, because it is very interesting to hear everyone's thoughts on this particular topic, devoted to, building a female wrestling fan community and also women's wrestling. I do have to admit that this is a beautiful time to be a female wrestling fan. Even though there's a lot of dumb shit that goes around, I'm just going to call it out there. There's some dumb stuff, and there's some people out there who are rude and vicious and mean and cruel. And I don't like you. If that's what you do, I'll go on social media and harass people. I don't like you. If you don't gotta like me, I don't care. But don't do that. I don't know. Try and take some time and put yourself into other people's shoes and be more empathetic, have more sympathy out there. Don't go out and just bash people on Twitter. Now, it's okay to, feedback, provide your insights and your opinions, but don't be a dick. Like, really, that's just a human lesson, common lesson for all. So with that, we will be back next week with another topic. What it is yet, I'm not sure. We're going to see what the world of wrestling just drops into our laps. And by that, what kind of chaos happens, what kind of crazy things happen, what kind of news pops out. There's lots of things I have been wanting to talk about recently that we haven't talked about yet. So stay tuned. Again, you can listen to this and future podcasts on the Chairshot.com, as well as your favorite platforms for podcasts, Spotify, Podbase, Speaker, iTunes, all of that. For Greg and Marco, I'm Miranda Morales, and make sure you always keep it soft style.
You're welcome.